Diamond and Dybvig in a paper in 1983 showed that banks are perfectly constructed to make sure that savings are transferred to productive investments. They do that by stepping in as an intermediary, a middleman, solving a quite natural conflict between savers and borrowers. And that conflict is that borrowers, they want to have liquid assets. They want to have access to their savings, while, so did I say borrowers? Of course, I mean savers. They want to have access to their savings all the time. And on the other hand, borrowers that make investments in, say, homes or in factories, they need to have a long-term commitment. So banks step in by doing what is called maturity transformation. And they then accept deposits from savings that savers can have access to continuously, and they transform that into long-term assets, the lending to households and firms. So in a sense, you could say that this is creating liquidity, creating money, not from thin air, but from the long-term assets, the lending that the banks do. So this was part of the paper. What they also show in this paper is that this maturity transformation is inherently vulnerable. If a rumor starts that people are going to take out their money from the bank, then everyone has an incentive to rush to the bank to take out money in time and not come last in line for taking out the money. And this can create failing banks. And this is something that's inherent in the maturity transformation. So maturity transformation is important, but it's also vulnerable. Diamond, he showed that banks are also perfectly constructed to serve another important purpose, and that is to monitor the borrowers. And they do that on behalf of the savers, again, as a middleman between, an intermediary between the savers and the borrowers. So banks can do this in an efficient way, reducing the cost of credit and making it possible to finance more productive investments in society. A problem with this is that this monitoring requires knowledge about the borrowers. This is built up during the relation with the bank. And when the bank fails, this knowledge disappears and cannot easily be transferred to other banks. And that is why it's difficult for new banks to take over the old customers. And this is a reason for why banking crises tend to have very long-lasting consequences.